Going live, going live. And we are live. Hello, 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 my friends. My name is Teacher Evelyn Joy, and welcome back to my channel. I wanted to share with you guys that I finally have come to the decision to homeschool my children. Not only one child this year, but most likely for the next 18 years, I believe. As of right now, my plan is that I'm going to homeschool all 4 of my children until they graduate high school. I didn't always think this way. I didn't always have this decision in mind. Originally, I thought public school would be fine. It's free, right? Christian school would be awesome. Homeschool, not sure. Sounds like a lot of work, right? But, public school is virtual this year. So I was planning on doing public school online because I was like, okay, that's free. I don't have to pay for curriculum, right? But even so, I'm deciding to homeschool and not do public school online. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my perspective, what led me to making this decision for my family. In no way judging anyone else for the decisions that they make. We're all doing the best we can with what we've got, right? But I just wanted to tell you kind of an family update, what our plan is as of now, okay? So the reason I'm not doing public school online is I tried I tried my best to get to go in with public school online, right? And as I was applying, they were asking for all of our vaccination information and everything. And I gave it to them. And yes, my kids are up to date on their shots and everything. But one thing that came to mind is if they come out with a vaccination for COVID-19, me personally, no judgment on your personal decisions, and hopefully you won't judge mine, but you're welcome to, I guess. Me personally, I don't feel safe giving a newly invented vaccine to my kids, even though they are up to date on their shots and they have been vaccinated for other things. I don't do the flu shot because I've never been sicker than when I got the flu shot. Maybe there was a connection, maybe there wasn't, but I'm just choosing not to. There's a shot that they give in middle school that's for, it starts with a P, what is it? Anyway, it's known for a lot of horrible side effects on some people, and so I am not going to be doing that shot either. But I, for the most part, my kids have had a lot of vaccinations, right? But I a little bit felt like if it's all online, right, and not in person, why do they still need to have control over whether I vaccinate my kids or not? You know what I mean? So anyway. Then also, as curriculums change and without getting too much into detail, as they add things that maybe I don't believe in as a Christian, as they add it to the curriculum, I've even heard some states in kindergarten are teaching a different set of morals than what mine are. And I just realized, if I have to choose between public school online and homeschooling, maybe there's some advantages to homeschooling, right? The other thing is, I wanted to sign my daughter up for first grade because, yes, in August she is still 5, but in October she turns 6. She already knows all of the things that kids learn in kindergarten. She's so ready for first grade. I've been kind of checking her skills and stuff to see if she's ready for first grade. She is. She really is. But even public school online, okay, in public school, in person, it makes sense that they have a standard. Everybody has to be a certain age to start kindergarten, and you can't just skip to first grade and stuff like that because, they have to be fair to everyone. But online, what do they care if I start my child in first grade? And at first, it sounded like they were going to let me, and then it sounded like I missed some sort of deadline for testing or something. And I just came to realize more and more what an advantage it is to homeschool. Not only do I get to teach my child one-on-one, but I also get to cater to her own learning style and to her own needs. But I'm also very thankful for OutSchool. OutSchool is an online platform where you can sign up for classes. Sometimes it's a $10 class or $12 class or $5 class, and your kiddos can have some fun online when learning with another teacher, which can be fun. So that's what we're doing. But it's a little bit daunting looking into homeschool curriculums and like laws for my state and stuff. I was really relieved to discover that I don't have to register until my child's 7. So I guess I'm going to register next year. But I'm going to get all my ducks in a row because you can get audited for homeschooling. So that's a little bit daunting and scary. In my particular state, I'm not going to disclose which state it is just for privacy reasons, but on my channel, I've mentioned before what state I live in. But in my particular state, you have to register your home as a unaccredited private school, and you have to name it and everything. And I already know what name I'm going to name mine. And I'll let you know what it is in a minute. But you also have to submit like all of your curriculum for the whole year, like your whole curriculum plan. So I'm relieved that I don't have to do all that until next year. So this year is going to be about me figuring out my curriculum and figuring out, getting a teacher planner and just planning everything out. And I'm so excited because, the money we could have spent on, book fees at public school or, private school education or whatever, the money we could have spent, actually, I can use it. Like my daughter's going to take piano lessons from a friend of mine who's a private piano instructor. So it's going to be like her music class credit. So okay, guys, I'm like so excited. How cool is it? The advantage that my kids get to have. My kids are adulting so hard at a young age. I didn't know how to garden when I was a kid, and here my kids are learning to garden right alongside me as an adult as I learned to garden. I didn't know how to cook. My kids know how to cook more things as a child than I knew how to cook as an adult. My kids are learning Spanish and English from infancy. They're learning Spanish and English. I learned it as an adult. I'm bilingual now, but it was a struggle learning Spanish, a second language, as an adult. What an advantage my kids will have. Hey, Kelly, I'm just ranting about this is a live video. My friend Kelly's here. Hi. I'm just ranting about why I'm excited to homeschool, surprisingly, right? I didn't think we would come to this point and that I would be this excited about a decision like this because, all honesty, I homeschooled kindergarten, half of second grade, sophomore year of high school. That kindergarten, it was fine. That half of second grade and sophomore year of high school, I was begging my mom the whole time to send me to school. But my kids have an advantage. I was lonely and bored and a social butterfly, kind of in a cage type thing when I homeschooled. But my kids are blessed because I have 2 girls and 2 boys. So they have, they play together. They have friendship at home. We also have play dates with friends. Before quarantine, we had a zoo pass and could go to the zoo all the time. We had a children's museum pass and could go there all the time. But for now, all of that is on hold. And we've been figuring out how to have fun at home with our own family. And OutSchool is really helpful for supplementing and just adding an extra dimension to our homeschool life and just adding an extra activity to look forward to. For example, yesterday, my kids actually took 2 OutSchool classes. I accidentally planned them for the same day, but luckily not the same time. So they dressed up, my girls, Esther's almost 6 and Deborah's 4.5. They dressed up in princess dresses. Esther dressed up as Elsa and Deborah dressed up as Cinderella, and I did their hair. And I bought them these really precious tea sets, but they're fragile, they're ceramic. So they can only use it in my office during an OutSchool class. So it's so exciting to have an OutSchool class to use their tea set in because their brother Joshi can't be in the room, unfortunately, when we're using a fragile tea set because he's not quite yet 3. He's still in that destructive young boy mode. So when he's old enough to take an out school class, he'll take some as well. Maybe not a tea party one. I don't know, depending on his interests. But it's just so cool that we can take a science class or an art class online, or I can. My kids are learning. They can learn about money at home. I can teach them about earning money and saving money and taxes, spending, all things, and they're going to have such an advantage um, because in the public school system, okay, the public school system has pros and cons, right? I grew up mostly going to public school, and it was fine, right? I was always a slow reader. I was always bullied, so those were some of the cons. But there's pluses to it. Socialization, as they say. My kids are very socialized, so I don't feel like that's a problem with them. But I felt like more than anything, actually, full disclosure, when my mom, okay, this is a little bit of a sensitive topic, but when my mom passed away, in her basement, she kept like tons of extra papers from teachers and things when I was growing up. And I found a note from my third grade teacher that made me livid, because it was a progress report and this teacher only had negative things to say about me. And she said, I never stop talking in class. I'm always talking to my neighbor. I instead of paying attention and doing my little lesson, I'm always talking to my neighbor. So all these people that say like, you're not going to send your kids to school. What about socialization? When are they going to learn to make friends and stuff? I didn't learn how to make school friends in public school. I learned to sit down and be quiet in public school. That's all I learned. Because it's so hard. And man, guys, it's so hard. I enjoyed being an ELL aide in the public school, but I would never be a classroom teacher because it's so hard to have 23 to 30 students per one teacher that have all different ability levels. You have some kids who, probably should be in the next grade. They're so smart. And some people who probably should have been held back, but we just keep letting them on to the next grade, because that's what we do in the public school system. We can't just hold them back, A friend of mine, her mom decided to homeschool her when most of her grade teacher reaching all of those ability levels when you have so many individual needs. And then you have situations like children with behavior disorders or, behavior problems, and they'll start throwing a fit, kicking and screaming and knocking over desks. And then your main concern is just keeping the kids in your classroom safe and moving them away from that situation. Obviously, you can't put a finger on the child, so you have to end up calling a school therapist to come talk the child down off the emotional ledge they're on. And some classrooms, this happens every single day. It seemed like more classes than not had a child like that just acted out almost daily in the public school system. And that was just my personal experience. Maybe some schools are better than others, but just behavior issues sometimes just got in the way of education, right? So I'm so blessed that at home I can meet the educational need of my child. We can get through our school for the morning, and then the rest of the day we can learn actual practical things. I was thinking, my daughter's almost 6. I could teach her how to thread a needle. I can teach her to sew her own doll clothes. Like those are things I would have loved to learn as a child, right? My mom knew how to sew, but unfortunately, my mom had to work. So, and I had, most of my childhood single mom, off and on, different random weird stepdads that were not a positive influence. But I I I didn't have, a two-parent home. So my husband and I, we feel really, really blessed that we get to give to our kids what we didn't have. Neither of us came from a two-parent home. His mom, his dad wasn't in the picture. My dad moved to Arkansas. My mom was always like dating men and working, and we didn't see her a lot. So we basically kind of raised ourselves. So we didn't learn how to cook. We didn't learn how to do laundry. We didn't learn how to sew. We just like uh, tried to survive, and my kids, like, they're thriving, and my husband feels the same way too. Like, we look at our kids and Like, they throw a fit over dumb things. Like, we're like, they don't even know what real suffering is. They're so, like, oblivious to, like, actual things to cry about because they just cry over, like, he didn't share a toy with me, or, like, she bit me or something dumb, you know? So it's I just feel like I never thought I would think this way about homeschooling, but I feel like it's such an advantage to be able to educate my own kids and to be a part of their education. When I worked in the public school system, and even when I worked at a Christian daycare that was connected to a Christian school, I thought, like, great, okay, so I'm a teacher, so I can work here, then my kids can come with me. Well, the problem is when I worked at the daycare and I had two little ones of my own, I felt so frustrated because they wouldn't let me work in the same classroom as my kids. Why? Because maybe they would act out more when they're around their mom. I still think that's a dumb excuse, but whatever. So I would be in the infant room taking care of 12 screaming babies, feeling stressed out and sad, taking care of these babies. Meanwhile, my 1-year-old's in a different class. Meanwhile, my 3-year-old's in another class. And they're all crying for me. They want to be with their mama. And I just felt frustrated that I'm raising other people's kids while someone else is raising my kids. You know what I mean? So homeschooling, it's nice because I get to be a part of my kids' education, and I get to be around them more. They get to be around me more, and it's like I said, it's just nice to supplement with OutSchool. And our church that we go to actually has a homeschool group that once we're past this whole crazy apocalyptic 2020, maybe 2021 will be better or worse, I don't know, but hopefully we can get involved with a homeschool group and maybe do outings or classes or whatever. But yeah, Kelly said, I think it's wonderful. They're being raised bilingual. They'll have such an advantage. Yeah, that's another thing. Like, if I sent her off to school, she would be hearing English all day long, right? Which is fine. But at home, I was thinking lately, Esther's actually been more interested in Spanish lately. I'm like, she's ahead of the game for kindergarten. She's even a little bit ahead of the game for the beginning of first grade. So, because I was looking at some first grade curriculums, and I'm like, she knows this stuff. You know what I mean? I'm like, I can't start her in second grade, but maybe I can work on some Spanish with her and stuff. So, my mother-in-law, whenever we're with her, we just speak in Spanish. And our kids reply in English, and that's fine. They're little. But Esther's getting bigger, and she's getting more interested in speaking Spanish. So I'm going to add that to the curriculum, working on teaching her more Spanish and having her actually speak it. Why? Because there's a lot of Hispanic kids who grow up in Spanish-speaking homes who grow up only responding in English, and that's fine. But I want my kids to be bilingual. I want them to actually be able to reply in Spanish. So my kids, just so you know a little bit about them, they listen in Spanish and reply in English, and sometimes throw in a few Spanish words. That's a good square to begin on for continuing instruction. Another thing is piano. Piano is a good first instrument to learn. So before my kids, get older and decide, I want to learn violin, I want to learn guitar, I want to learn drums, whatever, piano is a good square to start on for learning music basics. I don't play piano. I took some lessons in college, but it was a struggle because it's so much easier to absorb and learn these kinds of things from a young age. That being said, my friend who's a piano teacher, she told me about 6 years old is a good age to start piano lessons because 4-year-olds don't do well attention span wise with piano lessons. She's tried it. She said she started piano lessons at 8 years old, and she's very good at piano now. So I thought, what an advantage it would be, even in the pandemic and stuff, hire my friend, do one-on-one lessons, doing piano. And because my kids aren't doing public school all day long, it's not this thing of all day at public school, then after school, extracurricular, and then piano or whatever, and so many activities that they're exhausted and they're never home. It's not going to be like that. Yeah, Kelly said they're in the listening stage. Yeah, they're absorbing and learning information. They're interested in learning. Oh my goodness. I remember working in the elementary school. You look at the kindergartners, they're so excited to be at school. They're so excited to learn. They're so like, school's amazing and I'm so excited. You look at the 6th graders and they have an attitude like, I hate school. It's so boring and uncool and stuff. So I want to take advantage while my kids are little and teach them a lot of things, help them while they're still excited, teach them to sew, teach them to cook, teach them to garden, teach them Spanish, teach them piano. And then when they're older, they'll have their own interests and they'll say, you know what? I don't like fill in the blank that much. I don't like gardening that much. I like soccer, or I don't like piano. I want to learn guitar or whatever. But they'll have the basis of that knowledge to use in other areas. You know what I mean? A friend of mine, her family, and you're going to think I'm talking about Cindy Bennett, but I'm actually talking about my friend Anna. Anna and Deborah Myers, their family has 13 kids, just like Cindy. And all the kids in their family, with the exception of one special needs child, almost all the kids, 12 of the kids learned piano, and most of them learned a second instrument as well. So they might, and some of them even more. I think Deborah Myers is an overachiever. She speaks like 4 languages and plays like 3 instruments. She's very smart. But you see the advantage of homeschooling? Since you're not using all that class time trying to get all the kids to sit down and be quiet, since you're not using all of that class time, trying to make the classroom safe because one child is throwing a fit and acting out, since you're not using all of that class time, teaching everyone, the same level type of mathematics, whereas there's some kids that it's way over their heads and there's some kids that's way under their capabilities. You're not spending all that time and resources dividing up into workshops and getting the kids to sit down and be quiet so you can teach workshops that are actually on their level. You don't have to do all that when you're homeschooling. When you're homeschooling, you get to pick out the curriculum that interests you and interests your child. I can teach them about the Bible. I'm a Christian. I can teach them Christian values that are no longer allowed in public schools. They can teach the opposite of my morals and the opposite of my values. Those are allowed in school. They can teach things that aren't in the Bible, that are against the Bible. They can teach that in school, no problem. But you're forbidden to bring a Bible to school. You're forbidden to pray in school. You're forbidden to talk about God in school, because heaven forbid our children have some morals. Facts. And also, everything. I want to teach my kids from a biblical perspective. Why should you share your toys? Why? Because God called us to love one another. So love your brother. Take care. Why should you not bite your brother? Because the Bible says, treat others the way you want to be treated. That's what the Bible says. Golden rule, right? So I'm excited that I don't have to just send my kids to school, have the school raise my kids, and then they come home to me and I'm like, who is this child? And why are their morals so different than me? Right now in this country, we're having a big divide of the younger people who have gone to public universities like Yale and stuff. They are tearing down statues, burning and looting places, and they're declaring, literally Yale students and Harvard students are saying America needs burned to the ground and we need to defund the police. I'm like, your parents paid how much for you guys to go to an Ivy League school for you to behave this way? Are you kidding me? So all the more I'm seeing it's not about money. It's about actually taking time with your kids to actually teach them morals, to actually teach them the truth, to teach them values. I say no to my children. Yep. Did you know there are daycares and schools that they're on pins and needles? You can't say no to children. Heck yes, you can. If you don't teach your children yes and no, right and wrong, if you don't teach them now, they're going to grow up into a very entitled, we're seeing it a lot, guys, very entitled individual, an entitled person that thinks, you owe me this, you owe me that, I shouldn't have to work a job, you should have to give me benefits. That's not how the world works. That's not how a dollar works. I even now, some people might think it's wrong, but I think it was an advantage since my mom didn't have $1 million, she would tell us when we couldn't afford something. So I tell my kids, we have to wait till I get paid. So it's so funny. if you have my personality, if you have my sense of humor, you'll laugh, okay? I would take my kids to the mall, right? Because we could play in the American Girl doll store. We don't own any American Girl dolls, but we like playing with them, and we have, the thrift store knockoff at our house, and it's just as good. Those dolls play just as well. My kids have a glued on doll arm, and they were so excited to tell me, look, Mom, even though you put hot glue in it, the arm still moves. I'm like, yay, right? We can sew some clothes for the dolls instead of, anyway. I'm cheap, sorry. But American Girl doll store, we love going to it. It's really nice. And we could play with the dollies there and stuff. And then, buy a Dollar Tree baby doll instead of the American Girl doll brand. But they have very nice things in that store. Then we would go to the Lego store and we would play at the Lego table. Then we would play in the free play area right next to the carousel. Now, the carousel, for me to bring 3 kids on the carousel, it was $7. And to me, in my mind, it should still be free, or 25 cents like it was when I was a kid, or maybe 50 cents at the most per kid. So I save riding the carousel for special occasions like somebody's birthday, or mama just got paid and I'm feeling rich. Let's just have a nice time. So Esther, at 4 years old, we would be at the mall right next to the carousel playing in the free little play area for kids. My mom would be, and Esther would be like, Mommy, when you get paid and then it's my birthday, then we can ride the carousel. And as crazy as it sounds, it made me feel actually happy and good, because my kids aren't throwing a fit. They're not entitled, thinking my mom owes me money. My mom has to let me ride the carousel every time because I say so, and that's how it works in my home. My kids know sometimes mom says no, we can do other fun things for free. Sometimes we don't have the money for it, and that's okay. I think to learn about the value of a dollar, it's okay to sometimes tell your kids, we can't afford that. Bummer. Maybe for Christmas. I heard that a lot with my mom. So I learned to say to my mom, hey, Mom, I really want this thing. Can I get it for Christmas? And she would say, you'll have to wait and see for Christmas. And maybe I would get it. Maybe I wouldn't. Very good. Kelly said, yes, my parents always told me. I'm glad they did. Mine would do the same thing. Yes, for Christmas. Also, for chores around the house, sometimes I have change, or I have quarters or dollars or whatever in my wallet. And after my kids clean up, I'll say, you guys did such a good job. And guess what? I have some quarters in my wallet. You can put it in your piggy bank. Good job cleaning up. But a lot of the times, most of the time, I don't have money in my wallet. And I still expect my kids to clean up. I'm like, good job, And I tell them, you guys put the toys on the floor, so you should pick them up. I don't actually owe you money for that, but it's kind of nice when I give you a little tip for doing a good job, right? So I also appreciate that my kids, they're learning the value of a dollar little by little. They're still young, but I talk to them. I tell them about my classes. I tell them about the prices of things, because they'll ask to do something, and I'm like, that's $40. $40 is a lot of money. I get paid $10 per class, so I have to teach 4 classes in order to do that. And a lot of times they'll celebrate and be like, oh, you only have 1 class tonight, yay. And I'm like, yeah, but 1 class means less money. So yeah, you're happy, but it means a little bit less money for groceries or whatever. So it's not that exciting to have only 1 booking, So I'll tell them, or they'll say, oh, you have 3 or 4 classes tonight. Oh man. And I'm like, you get to spend time with your daddy during that time. And it means money for groceries. So maybe we can go grocery shopping tomorrow. So they're getting that correlation between work and you have to work to live, to eat. And they'll say, why does daddy have to go to work all day? We miss him, And I'm like, he has Saturday and Sunday off. We'll do something fun with him, But daddy has to work. Look, we have a roof over our heads. Look how this light bulb turns on. Isn't it amazing? Yeah, that costs money, Or, I'll tell them, if they break something that I just bought, I'm like, that costs money, guys. That the reason I feel frustrated is because the thing you just broke cost me $7. And next time, I'm not going to want to buy that for you because you broke it. You know what I mean? I talk to them seriously. Instead of following my impulses and wanting to yell at them, I just talk to them. And I say, bummer. Probably next time I won't want to buy that thing for you because you just broke it, you know? So it's helping them learn to take care of things and be responsible and learn about the value of $1 little by little. But I think there's so many advantages that growing up with their parents at home. Also, more and more, I've been looking at statistics of, I mean, my husband and I, we both grew up without a father in the picture. His dad chose not to be an active participant in his life. My dad chose to live in another state and pay child support, and we visited him for a month every summer. But I always felt like I had to reintroduce myself to my dad, and I hoped he liked me because I I I didn't grow up with my dad being a part of my childhood. He was this guy that we would visit in the summer, you know, because a kid changes so much in a year. So both of us, our dads chose not to be an active participant in our childhoods. And so much more. I've been looking at statistics of fatherless homes. Kids tend to act out more, boys more than girls, just statistically speaking. Um, I think guys really need that positive, strong male role model. And I think what an advantage. My husband and I, we look at our kids and we look at each other and we're like, it's like medicine to our own hearts from our own hurts from our own childhoods. It's medicine to our hearts to give something better to our kids. So our kids have a dad, you know, our kids have a mom. Because the thing about single homes with a mom is the mom then has to work all the time. And so kids end up, you know, kind of raising themselves. And I'm gonna be honest with you, we don't know how to raise ourselves. My kids are so smart and they learn so much because I instruct them. But if I didn't instruct them, they wouldn't do so well. They wouldn't know about anything about gardening if I didn't show them. They wouldn't know how to cook most of the things they know now because I showed them. So it's such an advantage to have a two-parent household. And I'm so thankful for that. Sorry to get teary-eyed, but I just feel like homeschooling and having two parents, my kids are going to be so successful in life no matter what the economy does, because they're going to be able to grow their own food. They're going to be able to cook their own food. They're going to be able to come up with their own business strategies. They're going to be able to save money. They're going to be smart with the things that they already own to keep it nice so that they could resell it later. They're going to know how to play piano so they can go on to learn other instruments. They're going to know how to speak two languages so they'll have more job opportunities. Even before going to college, all the things I listed are so many advantages in adulthood that so many people these days don't have. Even if you go to Yale, you're not bilingual like my kid. Even if you go to Yale, you may not know how to handle your money like my kids do. Even if you go to Yale, you probably don't know how to thread a needle like my kids do. Even if you go to Yale, you know, you can go to an Ivy League school and know nothing about adulthood. They're showing us this by their behavior. Some of these spoiled kids. So it's not about money. Being a good parent isn't about money. It's about being there for your kids and actually teaching them valuable things. And I'm learning as an adult. I'm learning to adult while I'm along. As I learn things, my kids are learning them with me because they're with me. I don't always eat the healthiest. I'm learning to eat healthier and get more active and do these things as I'm learning them. My kids are learning them. So, what an advantage it is to homeschool. I never thought I would become a homeschool mom, but now that I see the options, I'm pretty darn sure I'm going to homeschool as if circumstances and laws allow. I would like to homeschool all four of my kids all 18 years. Supplementing, of course, with, you know, there's Christian schools nearby that have like sports and music and art. You know, we can do like extracurricular, we can join like homeschool groups, we can go on field trips. So definitely not just like everything inside our home, just me, I'm the only instructor ever, but you know, homeschool co-ops, and there's a lot of opportunities to branch out and do other things. But I'm so excited. So I'm surprised by myself that I'm so excited and so happy and so privileged to be teaching my kids the things that I didn't get to learn, and to be a part of their education, because I get to raise my own kids. I don't have to send them off to be raised somewhere else. Um, so anyway, I'm gonna read what you guys are saying in the chat box. Kelly said, yes, for Christmas. Exactly. Like if they ask for something, I'll say, I don't know, maybe for Christmas. It was so funny yesterday. I think it was yesterday. Esther and Deborah were sitting there. They were like, Mommy, can you get us stuffed animals of Pinkie Pie for Christmas? And I'm like, I don't know, maybe we'll see. And they're like, oh, and we'll have a Christmas tree and lights and stuff. By December, they won't even have an interest in a Pinkie Pie stuffed animal, but it's like they'll want something else by Christmas, that's so far from now. But it's so fun that they imagine and plan, and there's just as thinking about the classroom model in the public school and thinking about the personality of my 4.5-year-old Deborah, her personality would be squelched. She would be in trouble all of the time in public school because that child cannot sit in a chair and listen for a lengthy amount of time. That's just not her personality. That's just not her learning style. Maybe she's a kinesthetic learner. And that's another thing. Boys tend to be a little bit more active, and that's not a bad thing. Intellectually, genetically, physically, boys tend to be more active. That's why we see boys having an advantage in sports a lot of times, right? Even babies, child development speaking, girls tend to talk sooner. We tend to be talkers. And boys tend to meet those physical milestones, sitting up, crawling, walking, running, climbing. They tend to hit those milestones first. So my Deborah, she didn't walk until 19 months old. My Joshua, he didn't hardly say more than 2 words until after he turned 2 years old. We were concerned about his speech. So for Deborah, we were concerned about her walking. For Joshi, we were concerned about his speech. Now that they're bigger, they're caught up. The thing is, each child learns at their own pace, and that's the difficult thing with the cookie cutter model of teaching a whole classroom full of kids. Just because they're the same age does not mean they're the same ability level, and we see that so often in the public school system, and the funding just isn't there to be able to do workshops all day long. I would teach little workshops of kids, and the workshops were fine, but so much more the kids can learn at home with their own parent teaching them. It's just, I feel like there's so much opportunity. Deborah can learn so much more at home than she would in the public school system. I feel like she has a very strong-willed personality. That means she could be the CEO of a company someday. She could start her own company, right? Or she could lead a gang. So she could go either way with her personality type. So I want to guide her towards, her 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 own path, a good path, right? But she tends to be rebellious. You tell her to do something, she doesn't want to do it because you told her to. So you have to talk to her about the reason why we do things. Whereas Esther, she aims to please. She's very obedient. She just wants to do it to make you happy, to make you proud. Deborah's quite the opposite. There's nothing wrong with either personality type. There are advantages to Deborah's personality type. Nobody will ever tell her to do something and she'll just do it. Nobody will say, come get in my car, and she'll just go with them. It has to be something that she wants to do in order for her to do it. Esther is very sweet, and she's a peacemaker, and she's very loving. She's a motherly type. So there's advantages to her personality as well. But I can cater to their learning abilities, their learning types. And for example, if we get to a topic on math that they're just not understanding, we can spend more time on that topic until they really get it. Or if they're just flying by, we can move on to new topics. Whereas everything is paced out with the cookie cutter model of the public school system, that unfortunately the public school system, you have to teach all of the children. And so some of them are getting left behind, and some of them are bored in their seats, and some of them can't sit still, and some of them have behavior issues. So you as a public school, I could never be a classroom teacher. you're trying to meet all of those needs and you're just one person. And it's hard, you know? And the only thing you have for punishment is like you have to sit on the wall at recess. Well, the kids that are acting out for attention, they probably need that time to run out some of that nervous energy during recess. So taking recess away from them isn't necessarily the best option. You know what I mean? I'm going to read what some of you guys are saying. Cindy Bennett said, my kids all are the hardest workers everywhere they go because of the way they grew up, helping around the house and working for all of their money. Exactly. Cindy said, I am the opposite. I am kind of the opposite because I need to splurge sometimes. I am too cheap. Cindy Bennett said, you are so right. School truly holds kids back from a lot of life skills. I can vouch for that. I truly love school myself, but being able to help them at home definitely helps them learn. Welcome, Teacher Audrey 123. Good morning. Going to listen and do feedback. Very good. Welcome. I'm going to add you as a moderator. And my friend Candy, I'm going to add you as a moderator as well. Welcome to the Blue Wrench Club. Candy said, I fully support and believe in homeschooling because I taught in public schools. Good morning, Luann. Welcome, Teacher Luann. So, yeah, I worked at a public, okay, when I was a single adult after college, I worked at a public elementary school thinking, this is great. I'll work at a public school. My kids can come to the same public school and I'll get to be a part of their education that way, right? Raising them. That was when I was single. That was my way of thinking. Then I got married and I was still working at the public school and I decided to work at a daycare. I was like, this is great. I can work at a daycare. My kids can go to the daycare with me when they're little, and then I'll work at the elementary school. They can go to the elementary school with me. I can be a part of like raising my kids and their education and also make a paycheck at the same time. But then I started seeing the behavior of the daycare kids. You see, the problem is once they hit a certain age, about 4 or 5 years old, they start realizing action reaction, that these people, these daycare teachers, they don't have any ability to discipline me, really. And so I can act however kind of horrible attitude I want to. And my parents, they're hardly ever with me, so they don't have that much power to discipline me either because I'm just not going to listen to them. And so I saw these entitled, spoiled, rotten brats in daycare. And I saw these frustrated teachers that were, angry. And I saw myself getting frustrated too. And I'm like, I'm going to do an at-home daycare. So I thought to myself, I'm going to do an at-home daycare so I can take other people's kids in my home and that's what I'm going to do. So then I had my own kids and I was working at a Christian daycare, right? I was like, someday I'm going to have my own at-home daycare, but let's just work at this Christian daycare. So I worked at the Christian daycare part-time and I felt so frustrated because they wouldn't let me work in the same classroom as my kids. So somebody else is raising my kids while I'm raising somebody else's kids. And I just felt like I didn't like it. As far as the at-home daycare option goes, I really enjoy teaching online and I really enjoy just being with my kids because I want to be a patient mom. Everything I do, I try to avoid losing patience and getting angry. I try to use my words and give warnings and remove myself from situations so that I'm not yelling at them, so that I'm not getting mad at them. I talk to them about things that make me feel frustrated. I'll say, I just cleaned the living room and it makes me feel frustrated that you just threw 12 toys on the floor. Can you help me pick them up? So that I won't feel frustrated and angry. Or I'll say, Mama I'm going to go in the other room right now because this situation is making me feel frustrated, So I talk to my kids about my own emotions. And then I'm so proud of them when I see them using those same kind of words when they're feeling frustrated. So I'm modeling to my kids what to do when you feel angry, how to remove yourself from a situation or take a breather. So I'm seeing less and less tantrums and fits from my kids. because also when they're throwing a tantrum, I don't give them what they're asking for until they can calm down and talk to me rationally, person to person. Sure, it would be easy if they're kicking and screaming on the ground saying they want candy. It would be easy to throw candy at them. It would be easy momentarily to throw candy at them and give them what they want. But what I do instead is a lot of times, this is a better example. My kids don't really throw fits for candy, hardly ever, I don't think. But a lot of times my kids throw fits over what's on the TV, so I just turn the TV off. I'm like, TV is not a need. We don't need the TV on. Like, so I have 3 different kids. They all want to watch different programs, and if I put one show on the TV, one of the other kids is going to throw a fit. So I just turn the TV off. I'm like, we don't have to watch TV if we're going to behave that way. And so I don't have to yell. I don't have to get mad at them. I do yell sometimes. I raise my voice sometimes, and I catch myself. I remove myself from the situation, and I apologize, and I talk to them, and I say, I felt really frustrated because you guys were really misbehaving, and I'm sorry that I got mad, and I'll try to do better next time, and we'll talk it out, right? So I am able to meet their emotional need by being a part of their life. And that's a thing I was seeing a lot in the daycare and elementary school I worked at. I was seeing kids act out for attention because negative attention is better than no attention. But it's better to give that positive attention before they have to act out for that negative attention. Now, Deborah, she's one of my middle children. I have 4 children. My goal is I don't want any of my kids to ever feel like a middle child. But the fact is, like it or not, they're still going to have, that middle child syndrome, which there's positives and negatives too, right? But I don't ever want my children to feel ignored. And especially Deborah, that's been a goal of mine to help her know that I love her. So one thing that I do is I've started bringing just my girls which is Esther and Deborah, my older 2. I've started bringing them to the grocery store with me because I never take them anywhere because of this pandemic. And for several months, I haven't been taking any of my kids to the grocery store at all. But I just started, we wear masks, and I just ordered them the hats with the face shield, which I like so much more than the masks. And I think they're so much more effective too. Anyway, my girls, I'll say, hey, guys, I'm going to be going to Aldi when Daddy gets home from work. So if you guys help me pick up the living room, the girls get to go with me to Aldi, right? What a prize. It's amazing. But sometimes they get to influence my shopping options, and they'll say, can we get cookies? I'll be like, okay, yeah, we can get some cookies, I guess. But you have to eat your food first, your good food first. Anyway, but also taking your kids with you shopping, they can learn about the prices of things and learn about, meal planning, and learn about, we're not getting that item. We're going to get the off-brand instead. Like the big the bag of goldfish, cheesy goldfish crackers is $8. But the big box of cheese crackers is $4. So I'm going to get the $4 one because the ounces are the same, just because one of them is the shape of a fish and the other one's the shape of a square. I'm like, I know you guys like the goldfish, but Mama's going to save $4, so we're going to get the cheese crackers. So they're learning about stuff like that, like ways to save money, because they go with me to the store. They're also learning responsibility of they love helping me. Instead of just putting the groceries into the cart, I'll hand it to my girls and they'll put it in the cart. And then they like helping me put it onto the conveyor belt too. And they like carrying, a bag of bread into the house or whatever. So they're learning a little bit of responsibility. They feel happy getting to be a part of the shopping experience, right? So Cindy said shopping with mom is huge. I know they will need that skill. Yeah, the thing is, too, this is going to sound a little bit negative, a little bit morbid, but I don't know how long my life is. I don't know with this virus and everything, tomorrow's not guaranteed to any of us. So I want to teach my kids life skills that they can use when I'm not around anymore. So maybe I'll have a long life, maybe I'll have a short life, but I want to use the time I have. That's why I also don't want their only memory of me to be yelling at them all the time. So I try my best to use my words and remove myself from situations that frustrate me and teach my kids, skills to, not push my buttons as much, like using their words and not throwing fits as much. So it's okay, especially with my Deborah. I've seen a lot of improvement. Part of it is her age, part of it is how I'm raising her, right? So she's 4.5 now. I can't take total credit, but she was a biter for a long time. She was a baby, and she's always been a fighter. She and Joshi used to fight like cats and dogs at the beginning of this pandemic, and she's really, really learning to share, take turns, and use her words and not throw fits, because she would reach a point of no return, and she still occasionally does, of throwing a fit where there's nothing I can do or say to calm her down. She's just going to throw a 40-minute fit, kicking and screaming on the ground, and that's that. And then we can talk about it when she's cooled herself down. But now she's learning life skills of how to express her emotions better and talk to me. So when she starts to get worked up, I'll tell her, Deborah, what do you need though? What do you want? I'll tell her, I'm being honest. I don't understand why you're upset. Can you please use your words and talk to me? And if she starts to like scream, cry, talk to me, I'll be like, I'm not fully understanding. Can you take a deep breath and talk to me in regular words? And then she'll stop. She shows me she can actually do this. She'll stop and she'll say, Mommy, I want my dark green cup. And I'm like, oh, you want your dark green cup? Let me get it for you. Would you like milk, water, or juice? Oh, you want water? You just want water in your favorite dark green cup? I can get that for you. But when you were kicking and screaming on the ground, baby, I didn't know what you were upset about. I can't help you unless you talk to me. And so she is developing the skill as she grows older and somewhat grows out of those terrible 2s and 3s that she was in. She's now 4.5. She's doing much, much better. But she's also learning to regulate her emotions. I never tell my kids they're not allowed to cry. My husband's tried saying that crap to Joshi. He'll say, like, boys don't cry, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, Daddy, we're not teaching our kids that. If you feel sad, it's okay to cry. If you get hurt, it's okay to cry. If you want something or need something, it's okay to use your words. It's okay to have those sad emotions, but you have parents that will meet your needs. So if you're hungry or you want a cup of water, you don't have to throw a fit for it. You can just talk to us. You can just use your words. It's okay to cry if you stub your toe, boy or girl. It's okay to cry when someone says something mean and it hurts your feelings and you feel sad. It's okay to cry if your pet dies or whatever. Boy or girl, you're allowed to cry. You're allowed to have emotions. We're not teaching one gender is allowed to have emotions that other gender's not. We're not teaching that. Daddy tries to pull that because Hispanic culture and all that. But he says it jokingly because he knows I'm not going to let it. He'll be like, you're not allowed to cry because you're a boy. And I'm like, don't listen to Daddy. I'm like, Daddy, hush. Boys are allowed to cry, but, for legitimate reasons. So our kids, I'm like, okay, well, because of being consistent, they're getting better at not throwing tantrums as much. Sometimes they get real upset. Oh, sometimes I'll upset 2 kids at once because they've decided they're not going to share, and I'll take a toy away. And I'm like, neither of you gets it. Bummer. So then they'll both be upset. One of them will decide to be okay with it, and the other one will throw a fit. And I'm like, you 2 decided not to share the toy. You 2 decided to fight over it. I took the toy away, took the problem away. You can throw a tantrum about it. It doesn't get the toy back. Maybe we'll play with it tomorrow, but sorry, But depending on the situation, if one of the kids clearly had it first and was playing with it, the other kid decided to take it away, obviously the first child gets it. And if that first child that had the toy first chooses to be kind and share, like sometimes, especially with food, Joshi will finish his grapes first and then he'll want to take some away from his sister. Sometimes she'll share with him, or sometimes I'll tell him, you need to use your words so I can get you more, right? So I always compliment when a child is not required to share and they choose to share just to be kind, I over compliment them. I'm like, Oh my goodness, Deborah, you are the best sister ever. That was so kind of you. You did not have to share those grapes with Joshi, but you chose to share with him. Would you like some more grapes for you? Let me go get those for you. So I'm teaching life skills, people. And I don't know, at home they're learning to live with people. They're learning to interact with different personalities within their own home, right? And they're learning how to deal with each other, right? On a daily basis, because this is your family. This is who you're stuck with. We're quarantined together. We're not going anywhere. These are the people. I'll hear Deborah. It cracks me up. My 4-year-old will be like, I'm never going to play with you again. I'm like, good luck with that, because you're stuck with those siblings until you're 18, kid. And I just feel so blessed that they have each other. They obviously get over that real quick, and they're playing together like 5 seconds later. Gotta love dramatic kids. But they have to make a point of, I will never play with you again. Yeah, right. Good luck with that. That's gonna be boring if you don't get to play with your siblings ever again. I'm gonna read what you guys are saying. I'm gonna scroll up a little bit. Yes. Yeah. Teacher Luann said, I worked at the public school in middle school. I was part of my 2 kids' education because I knew the teachers and things that took place. I began homeschooling them once they reached 7th grade. Very good. MGTV says, hi, hello. I didn't want them to be a part of the system. That's understandable. Yeah, I've worked in the public school system, and I've seen some very entitled kids that are one public school system, middle schoolers and high schoolers were given iPads. They didn't have to work a second. They didn't have to work an hour or a day or a week or a month or a year to get their iPads. And because they didn't have to work to receive their iPads, they were just entitled this iPad. I saw it was I think their parents had to pay a fee to rent the iPad for the year or something. I saw so many destroyed iPads with cracked screens and just broken to bits because these kids didn't have to pay a penny for it out of their own pocket. They had no association with the cost of the iPad. We are constantly telling our kids that iPad costs $300. You may not drop it on the ground. You may not get water anywhere near it. You can only sit on the couch and look at it. And when you're done with it, give it back. Because our kids broke a tablet before from throwing it on the ground because Joshi was 2, and that's what 2-year-olds do. They break things. But so many entitled kids. And then in the public school system with the iPads, the teacher will be at the front of the class trying to teach. All the kids are on their iPads doing whatever. Now it's probably TikTok, but at the time, back then it was like Instagram. And the school, the Wi-Fi, they block the social medias from them getting on it on their iPads in class, but one kid figures out how to get past that, and all the kids learn from that one kid, and then they never listen in class ever again. And teachers can take iPads away, but they have to give them back at the end of the class. Then they go on to their next class and do the same thing. It's just a nightmare. Anyway, Candy says, kids act out to get attention. If there are 20 plus kids, good ones, the teachers think they don't need the attention. So all the attention goes towards the ones that act out. So true. Negative attention, but it goes to them. So kids learn to act out to get attention. I learned in middle school that the girls that show more skin get boyfriends. So that's not a good thing to learn either. Like we learn action, reaction. Well, the girls that behave promiscuously are the ones that get attention from boys. The kids that behave badly are the ones that the teachers talk to more, right? Or, the smartest kids in class as well. I always felt like the teachers didn't like me because I wasn't smart enough or whatever, which is such a flawed way of thinking. I didn't know at the time, right? So yeah, Candy said, plus homeschooling, you don't have to worry about someone teaching your babies things you don't want them to be influenced for. Yeah, I said that earlier in this video. More and more, the public school system is adding things to the curriculum that aren't biblical. They're not according to my Bible-believing standards. I do believe that there's just two genders, guys, and that you can't flip-flop switch around. I don't believe that there's 100 genders. I'm sorry. But that's what they're teaching to kindergartners now, that you can have any number of genders, and that's just not biological fact. Even if you change your physical attributes, you still have X and Y chromosomes in your genes. You can't change all of your genes. There's no way to do that. So you're still either male or female. And if you disagree with me, I still love you. But that's not how I'm going to raise my kids. I'm not going to raise my kids that there's 100 genders. I will teach them that there are people out there that believe that, but I'm going to teach them that that's not what I believe. Facts. I'm just going to teach my kids according to the Bible. I'm going to teach my kids right from wrong, yes and no. I'm going to teach my kids to the best of my ability, right? But we're all doing the best we can with the knowledge we have, right? Yeah. Candy writes, my sister was a middle child, and she is the most ambitious of the three of us. So being the middle kid isn't so bad. Yeah, I see that in Deborah, that she could be the CEO of a company. She could be an entrepreneur. I see that in her personality, that she is a free thinker. That's why I think, at least at this age, she would not do well in a classroom. She also acts out for attention. She would be in trouble every single day. She would be in trouble every single day. I'm telling you. She is strong-willed. She acts out for attention. In Sunday school class, I would come and pick her up, and she'd be sitting on one of the teenager. She's also very affectionate and loving for attention. But there would be like teenage volunteers. She would always be like sitting on their lap when I came in or something, because she just like has to have that attention. She loves that attention, but you know, we have to be careful, because around the wrong person, that could be a negative attribute, you know? So I want to give my kids the attention that they crave. You know, I want to meet that need so that they don't have to seek it elsewhere. You know, there's so many kids that teen girls that get pregnant in middle school and high school because they didn't have a father figure. They didn't have that attention at home. And so they sought love in all the wrong places and found it, you know? And I don't want that to be my kid's story. I want to teach them morals and teach them that they're loved at home. My friends that come from with 13 kids, they weren't quick to want to get married, to want to start their own family, because they were so content and happy with their own loving family that they were content. For me, I came from a broken home. I couldn't wait to get married and have kids. I did wait until I found the right one, but I was so waiting on pins and needles. When am I going to get married and have kids so I can actually have a loving family, actually have a family to love on myself, you know? You're my kid and I'm going to love you. And so now, it's because I had to wait for that, and because I didn't have that growing up, even more so, I feel so thankful. Even on days that I get frustrated, I'm like, so thankful. These are the kids I prayed for. This is the family I prayed for. Are they perfect? Am I perfect? If y'all are on my channel looking for perfect people, you came to the wrong channel. There's a lot of fake channels with a lot of fake people acting very perfect, and I'm not it. I show you guys my garden. I've got strawberry plants that are dying, but I also have cantaloupes that are growing. That's kind of like my real life. You got parts of my area. I got a messy house I need to clean up. I get mad at my kids and yell at them sometimes, but there's a lot of pluses. There's a lot of positives too, right? I'm not that bad. Okay, so yeah. Cindy Bennett said, shopping with mom is huge. You know they will need that skill. And even more so, like meal planning. I'm still learning adulting, guys. I've never written out a menu for the whole week of what I'm going to cook for the whole week. Every day, it's like, all right, what do we have on the shelves and in the refrigerator that I can turn into a meal? And when I go shopping, it's like I buy practical things that I could use for several different meal options. So I'm like, oh, okay. But if I plan ahead, I could buy specific things and make like every Tuesday night Taco Tuesday. So the kids would look forward to like Tuesdays is taco night, Fridays is pizza night or whatever. And so I'm thinking of like adulting to the next level and like learning to meal plan for the whole week. That would be amazing. Because like sometimes my husband will be like, what's for dinner? And I'm like, I don't know. What do you want me to cook? You want chicken or fish? You know, tell me. I can make rice. I can make mashed potatoes. What you want? But if I plan ahead and he goes, what's for dinner? I'll be like, chicken. Too bad. I already planned it. It's chicken. It's written down. We have to follow the plan. Just kidding. But seriously. Okay, that was a really weird face I just made. Probably just scared away like 5 subscribers. I'm blaming it on that. That's what I'm going to blame it on. Whenever I lose a subscriber, it's because I'm a big weirdo. That's why I lost a subscriber. Speaking of subscribers, I'm at 893 subscribers before I made that face. Bummer. So I'll be at 900 subscribers before you know it. Yeah, 893. I didn't scare anyone off quite yet. Okay. But yeah, interesting stuff. I've just been so surprised how excited I am about the option of homeschooling because I thought that I wasn't the homeschooling type. And the older I get, and the more options, it's like all these options of doors of school were open to me. And one by one, as I try to go in one, the door closes. I try to go another, the door closes. Public school at the area we live in, not so great a public school. Christian school, way too much money, and I have 4 kids. How am I ever going to pay for that? Public school online, no, it's not looking like a great option either. And then, there's one big wide open door, and it's homeschooling. And I'm like, I might do this for 18 years, guys, because I'm thinking this is probably the best option for my family situation, for my family dynamic, for the blessing I have for working from home. And here come my kids. They just woke up. Somebody woke up and is coming in. So funny story. Last night, I kept hearing something. It was like 1 a.m. I kid you not. It was 1 a.m. I kept hearing something. I'm like, is one of my kids awake? My husband's asleep. My baby's asleep. In the next room, Esther, Deborah, and Joshi are asleep. I keep hearing something. I'm like, that is an electronic toy. Is somebody awake and playing with a toy and pushing the buttons? I go in Joshi's room. He's got so many toys in his bed. And one of them, he's asleep. One of them is a toy dog that keeps talking and singing just over and over again. So I take some of the toys out of his bed and move him and put his blanket over him. I take that toy into the bathroom, close the door, turn on the light, find the switch, flip it off. I got to sleep at 1:30 a.m., guys. And then my babies decided to wake up to breastfeed at 4:30 a.m. So I got 3 hours of sleep last night. Hello, bags under my eyes. What's up? I might take an afternoon nap today. I might not. We shall see. Anyway, yeah. Kelly said Capri used to be like that. Capri is your daughter who is almost 16. And I think you are talking about how I described my Deborah because I've heard you talk about Capri before. Strong-willed children, there's positives and negatives, right? Candy said, my sister was like that. Oh, that was when I was talking about fits. Mom let her cry it out. My hubby also threw horrible fits, and they both turned out okay. Yeah. The thing is, letting them cry it out, okay, is fine. You want me to get real? Real. Deborah will get upset to a point where she'll get to a point where she's laying on the ground, kicking the door, and sometimes she even takes off all of her clothes and she's naked, kicking and screaming, kicking the door. And this shows how much this is for attention. If I come over to her and I say, Deborah, baby, why'd you take your clothes off? Where are you kicking the door? Come here, baby. And I take her butt, I grab her hand, I take her hand. If I hold my hand out like this, if she's ready to calm down, she'll stop her fit. She'll reach out for my hand and I'll be like, baby, what clothes do you want to wear? Let's pick out what clothes you want to wear. She wants that attention. I'm like, baby, you don't need to kick the door like that. You're going to hurt your feet. Is your foot okay? You know, she wants me to baby her because she's got younger siblings that get babied and she doesn't get babied enough. So she wants me to give her that attention. So I try my best to give her that positive attention. Last night, you can watch in my video, I gave a garden update. Esther got to pick a pepper. She asked to pick a pepper. I said yes. Then Deborah wanted to pick a pepper. So that's only fair, right? Esther got to pick one. So now Deborah gets to pick one. But then Esther wanted to pick another one. I'm like, there's no more peppers that are big enough. But then they saw another big one. So Esther got to pick another one. Then they saw another big one. So with my permission, Deborah got to pick another one. So you see, like, I was giving them attention and being fair. So I try to do that with my kids. And I'm seeing Deborah act out less and less. And some of that is because of her age, and some of that is because of consistency with parenting. So yeah. Kelly said Peter Piper picked a pepper. That's true. He picked a peck of pickled peppers. Wait a minute. You can't pick a pickled pepper. You have to pickle it. You have to pick the pepper and then pickle it. That whole poem is a lie. Yeah. Positive and negative reinforcement. Yep. Cindy said about genders, I have heard that vaccines with DNA in them can cause gender confusions, so maybe it is physical because of this, just a theory. No comment, because I'll probably offend someone that I love. I have family members that don't watch my YouTube channel, but I have my cousin's daughter started taking hormones to become a son. And now 4 years later, she started at 14 and now she's 18. She very much looks and sounds like a boy. You wouldn't know the difference. But I think it's sad. But I don't judge people that make that kind of decision because I'm not in their shoes. But I'm not going to raise my kids to do that. I'm also never going to give hormones to my own children. Personal parenting decision. Because those are foreign hormones and like could be detrimental to their development, right? But if I have a child that after they turn 18, they choose that kind of lifestyle, I am never, no matter what lifestyle my children decide, I'm never going to disown my children and not talk to them. I'm never going to be like, you chose not to be a Christian, you chose to be gay, you chose to change your gender, you're not my child anymore. You will never hear those words come out of my mouth because I love my children. That's my child. That's my child, even if they make bad decisions. And that's my child. And after they leave this nest, they're going to make some bad decisions and they're going to learn from their mistakes. And the one thing I want them to know, I want them never, ever, ever to utter the phrase, my mom would kill me if she found out. I don't want my kids ever to think that if they got pregnant or if they chose something that's not according to my values, I don't want them ever to think that I would reject them. I don't want my kids ever to think that I would, that my love is conditional. My love is conditioned only if you are a Christian. My love is only if you are straight. My love is only if this or that. I'm going to teach them what the Bible says about those things. And then when they're an adult, if they choose to go on a different path, I'm still going to love them. Because I know people in my family, people that have felt a lot of judgment and rejection from Christians. And I'm not going to be that mom. I'm not going to be the mom that says, you're not part of this family if you don't follow my values. No. But while they're under my roof, I am going to instruct them according to right and wrong, according to my beliefs. So, but I never want my kids to say my mom would kill me, or I can't tell my mom, maybe my mom would be disappointed, maybe I would disagree with a political belief or a political perspective. What family does that not happen in, right? But I want my kids to be confident that they can tell me anything, and I want them never to think my mom would kill me. Me growing up, I never told my mom I was getting bullied because my mom had too many problems. I just wanted to make my mom happy because she had so many problems. I felt like I couldn't tell her when I was going through something bad. So with my kids, I don't burden them with adult problems. I don't tell them like fill in the blank. Oh, excuse me, Miss Deborah. My kids are outside the door. Excuse me, Miss Deborah. Why are you telling Joshi bad boy? That's not kind. If Joshi smells pee-pee, he just needs a change of clothes and a change of diaper, which means I need to finish my video. That doesn't mean he's a bad boy. That's not very kind to say. Deborah, what do you want to eat for breakfast? Cereal? So difficult to please these children cooking cereal for breakfast. I'm gonna go in just a minute. My kiddos are waking up and needing their mama. Okay, so Kelly, head on over to Kelly's channel. She says, I'm going to do a quick live and tell everyone Dani and I are not going live. I'll come back if you're still on. Oh, okay. So I'll just tell the announcement here. Kelly is not going live. She and Dani were going to go live today. They announced that, but life circumstances affected that for today, and they'll probably do their collaboration on a later date, but we don't know when quite yet, to my knowledge. Kelly said, oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Kelly said, I've told my kids to call me no matter what. It is never to never not call because they think they'll get in trouble. Exactly. If my child calls me because they're a teenager and they're drunk at a party and they can't drive home, they're going to be in a lot less trouble because they called me than they would be if they tried driving home drunk. You know what I mean? Like, I would much rather help you out in that life circumstances that you made a bad decision followed by an honest decision by telling me you need me to pick you up. I would rather come help you out than have you endanger the lives of others by trying to drive drunk. You know what I mean? And I'm going to raise my kids that, like, I would like you guys not to drink. Like, my husband and I'm so thankful that my husband's like me and that we both kind of see no advantages or no positives to going down the path of drinking. So we don't drink alcohol. I know, some people enjoy a glass of wine. My husband and I tried to enjoy a glass of wine one time. He had a birthday. How old was he turning? Probably 30. And we had a babysitter. My mother-in-law watched our kids. We went to a fancy restaurant. We taste tested 5 different wines. We disliked all of them. The only one we liked wasn't even a wine. It was one that tasted like Sprite and had like 5% alcohol in it. The only reason we liked it was because we couldn't taste the alcohol. So we are definitely not people who have a taste for alcohol. And we could have acquire the taste, but why? In college, I signed a contract that while I was in college, I wasn't going to drink alcohol because I went to a Bible college and that was the rule. So I obeyed the contract because I'm like, to be honest, so when I turned 21, I drank sparkling grape juice. Then when I finished college, I one time tried alcohol and I was like, again, it was like 5%. Like, it was peach something schnapps or whatever. I don't know. I was drinking more water than, like, I was, like, sipping the alcohol and, like, drinking water and might have gotten slightly tipsy. I was like, "I don't see anything positive about this. I don't get it." I'm not into the bar lifestyle and stuff. So I'm so thankful that my husband isn't into that stuff because, I mean, we save money and we don't need to do that. But so we're gonna kind of teach our kids, weigh the pros and cons. What are the pros to drinking alcohol versus the cons, right? And just let them make their own decision um, based on that. But kids more often than not do they follow our actions more than our words. You can tell a kid all day long not to drink, and they'll probably go drink, or you can model the behavior for them, and they can decide whether they want to follow you or not, right? Yes. Candy said Jesus loved us in all our sin. Exactly. How hypocritical is it of me, a sinner, on a level playing field with all other sinners, even Hitler. We're all sinners. We all fall short of the glory of God. What kind of hypocrite do I have to be to then judge another person and be like, well, because you are a fill in the blank kind of sinner, I'm not going to associate with you. Or like tell my child, you chose a different path than what I had planned for you, therefore I no longer love you. That's not, my dad didn't talk to my brother for 10, 13 years, like 13 years, until I told my dad, like, seriously, you need to talk to my brother. Here's his phone number. And he, they're friends on Facebook. They talk on occasion, but they're not close by any means. But that's one thing that, my brother's an atheist and he's covered in tattoos. I'm talking about my oldest brother. Um, and he cusses a lot and stuff on his Facebook posts or whatever, and he's done every drug imaginable and all that stuff, and probably shortened his life because of his choices. But he always knew that my mom accepted him no matter what decisions he made, and my dad just didn't. My dad didn't accept him, and I saw, looking at my parents, which one I want to be like. I want to be the parent that prays for their kid that's struggling rather than the parent that rejects them and adds to their sorrows that they have to drown in alcohol or whatever. That my mom doesn't love me unconditionally. I don't want to add to the problem by not loving my kids unconditionally. Okay, guys. My kids need me. They need some food. They need some diaper changes. Oh, about homeschooling curriculum, I wanted to say real quick. I'm going to go spend $30 on homeschool curriculum secondhand from Facebook Marketplace because I'm too cheap to buy a $300 curriculum online straight from the company. So where you can buy secondhand. So I'll talk to you guys later, and I'll show you the curriculum later. Bye. Thanks for hanging out with me.